day, technicians at Schrock Innovations solve problems.
In this week's Compute This, specific examples and what you might learn from them.
Hey, welcome back, the owner of Schrock Innovations, Thor Schrock.
Hey
Good
guys,
to see
thanks
you.
for having me.
Thanks for coming in on a holiday. Everybody
Oh,
else
it's
has a
awesome.
day off.
This guy, he works 7 days a
I
week.
know.
Well, and actually we're open today. We are
Are you
open.
really? Better.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where we're in that weird never space where we're a service company, and most service companies are closed Memorial Day, but we also have retail space, so most retail places are open.
Right.
My staff always votes to be closed, but we actually have quite a few people who bring computers in
right.
on the Memorial Day
Well,
weekend.
everybody else is
problems.
off.
They're
There's
out of
always
town,
problems.
yeah.
Yeah, these problems never stop. And we're going to solve some problems here today, right?
Absolutely.
We got a first problem. This comes from Michelle. She brought her computer, I guess, into the Papillion Service
Yes.
Center, and it was giving her some problems. She had all these pop-ups that were coming
Yeah.
up, and said it was infected, needed to be cleaned, all this type of stuff.
Yeah, when you get the pop-ups that pop up and say, your computer is infected, it's Super AV Defender Pro 2.0, you know, click here to scan your system. The only infection you really have on the computer is the pop-up telling you you have an infection
That's
on the
the
computer.
infection.
That's
But
the
it's so
infection.
annoying, so how
well,
do you get
it's,
rid
it's
of it?
annoying, and what happens is the longer it's on there, it comes up more and more often to the point where you close it and it pops right open again. It has an algorithm that makes it more and more annoying until you actually click, it says, you know, they'll scan, you run the scan, it says you're infected, click here to remove it. Oh, you've got to pay us. You have to pay us 50,
Right.
75, $100, and it usually goes to a crime syndicate in Russia, and St. Petersburg is usually the place that stuff comes from.
So what do you do?
Well, if you're not informed, you pay it, and then magically it just goes away, and your computer remains silently infected. You really don't want to pay them. So the best thing to do is to, there's a ton of scanning utilities on the internet where you can scan your computer for free. The trouble is these infections will actually cause those other utilities not to install or to not work properly. So if you bring it into Schrock Innovations, we have the first hour of labor free for new customers. A lot of times that's all it takes to get the stuff out of there. And then once we have it out, you really need to put good antivirus software on your computer. I don't mean the free AVG. I can hear the emails coming already. It's like Ron Paul people and AVG. They just go hand in hand. But I can hear the emails. No AVG. It doesn't do a good job for consumers. If you're a technician, AVG is great. If you're a consumer, don't do it. You know, the free McAfee, the free stuff from your internet service provider doesn't do the
You
job.
like Norton 360?
Norton 360 is
All
the
right,
best.
let's talk about Max. Brought his laptop into the Omaha Service Center because there was some sort of rhythmic beep, right? And then it would turn off. What, his computer would just turn off?
Yeah, this was actually funny because he brought it in and he
But
said,
he thought it was hilarious.
well, yeah, he thought it was hilarious because he had the
Right.
free hour coupon. That's all. You know.
Yeah.
So he brought it in. It's the weirdest thing. I turn it on and it goes beep, 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 pew, and just shuts off. And we're like, well, that sure is interesting. So we went ahead and powered it up. And sure, he had some gunk under his power button, so when he was pushing the power button, it was staying down, so the
No
computer would
kidding.
turn on
What
and then
was
turn
this,
off.
crumbs or something under there?
Yeah, some Doritos, who knows. We blew it out. We do that on all the laptops. We blow out the keyboards and everything.
And
All
it was
kinds. We
fine?
see all kinds of junk fly
You
out.
didn't diagnose the food?
You know, not at the front desk. You know,
So
yeah.
for him, that was a free fix because
Well, for
it was
him,
the
that
first
was only
hour.
half of it because the computer still just kept beeping. And we're like, why is it, when you turn it on, it was really even more annoying then because you turn it on and it's beep, 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 and it would just keep going forever.
Yeah.
It would never stop. And we're like, what is going on? So we actually took the keyboard out of the laptop and tapped it on the table. There were some massive crumbs in the keyboard.
lot of
We
stuff
couldn't
in
even blow them out. We had to tap it out. And then, because basically it was a key stock. If you hold down a key on your laptop and
That's
turn the
exactly
computer
what it
on,
sounds like.
it'll beep like that. And so
Wow.
it was an hour of labor in and out. It was one of the more humorous fixes. We had one the other week, and this wasn't on the sheet or anything, but the guy brought in his laptop because he had a cracked screen because his dog bit the screen. And you remember when you had to tell people my dog ate my homework?
Right.
You know, kids in the digital age, my dog ate my laptop. You know,
It really does
It's
happen.
not quite as
Right.
convincing.
Here's
Yeah.
another problem. This one comes from Sarah. She dropped off her computer at the Lincoln Service Center, and I guess she had some issues. It was making a grinding noise.
Yes.
Which is always a concern if it's
Yeah,
making a
your
grinding
computer
noise.
is not supposed to grind. There are only a couple components inside the computer that make any noise at all. One of them is the hard drive. If your hard drive is grinding, that's real bad news. That means you're going to lose your data if you don't get that in. We have a fully equipped data recovery center. Whenever somebody comes in and says my computer's grinding, it's either a fan or a hard drive, and we always treat it like it's a hard drive because it's a fan. You can all laugh about that tomorrow and replace the fan. If it's a hard drive and you lose your baby's first
Nothing
pictures,
funny about
things like
that.
that's not cool.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Corey. Dropped her laptop off at the Omaha Service Center. The power plug wouldn't work anymore, right, on the side of the computer. So
Yeah, it
what
was
going
actually
on there?
punched in.
Oh.
The laptop had been dropped with the power cord in it, and it just busted the power jack,
Knocked
the
it out of the
DC jack,
socket.
Yeah.
all the way in. And those are kind of tricky because people ask, hey, I have this free hour of labor coupon. Can you do that? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't, because when that jack gets punched in, basically it's just a piece of plastic that sits down into the bottom bezel of the laptop. There's a little notch for it. Well, if that gets punched in, it can shatter that notch, and then we have to replace the whole bottom bezel. If it's just the DC jack, we can replace that. Some of them solder in, some of them plug in. So we have to actually use that first hour to tear it open and figure out what we're up against. Sometimes we can fix it and get it back together in that hour. Sometimes we need a second hour. But we were able to save her whole computer, which is nice because
Right.
a DC jack is like a $90 fix as opposed to a whole new laptop, which is a $700 fix.
Okay, we got just about a minute, but I want to get to this last one. The Wagner family couldn't get any of their computers on the network. Is this a network issue?
Yeah, it was. They had a wireless router that bit the dust. A lot of people, they plug in their wireless router, get it all programmed up, and then they forget about it for like a decade.
Yeah.
You know, as long
No,
as it
absolutely.
works, yeah, as long as it
Right.
works, why think about it?
I can't even remember where mine is.
It's in there somewhere. It's like a signal meter. You're looking for it. But basically, if that wireless router goes out or has a problem, what ends up happening is you have to replace it, which can be a pain in the rear because all of the devices in the house, the Wiis, the Xboxes,
They
the
depend
tablets,
on
the
it.
phones,
all that stuff.
they're all pre-programmed with the password.
And
So
if
we
you
have to
don't
go
remember
back
that
and
password,
you got to reprogram
we've been
all
there
of them.
before. And who keeps that? It's got 36 digits or whatever it is, that password.
We
and
keep
never
it for customers
Oh,
because
you
we
do?
get calls. But you set up my
See,
wireless
that's
network.
great.
What's the
Lose
We
out.
password?
should keep those.
Hey.
Real quick, 1 hour of free labor. You were talking about that earlier.
Yes.
We don't want people to forget about this.
Yeah, whenever you come into our service center, if you're a new customer, you've never been in before, stop in, you get your first hour of labor free. A lot of problems we can fix in an hour, so when you have that computer problem, write down our phone numbers, keep our name handy. We're there when you need us.
There
Yeah.
it is, Schrock Innovations.
And 3 locations. So we mentioned the different problems that came out of those different service centers, and there are 3. So in Omaha, they're at Village Point South. They're also in Papillion at Highway 370 there on 72nd Street. And then in Lincoln as well, always online at SchrockInnovations.com. And like them on Facebook, frankly, you're going to save money doing that as well. They're constantly giving stuff away and promoting things there on Facebook. Thank you, Thor.
Hey,
Thanks
thank
for
you
coming in.
guys.
Happy
My
Memorial
house
Day.
later for Sazitza, as Mary's coming up.
Hey, sounds like a plan. I like it.
On the grill.
All
Thanks for
right,
coming.
it's a story that's been dominating the headlines, the J.P. Morgan scandal.
Yeah, and an expert weighs in on the next steps in the banking scandal and look back at some of our recent celebrity interviews when the Morning Blend continues.
Thank you.